This is director Levin. You were on stage already before. I want to wish everyone before, as we talked beforehand, happy Orthodox Easter. Frohes Beal Fasika. And we wanted to start the Q&A. I will ask 1 or 2 questions, and I will hand it over to you, our lovely audience. There will be a mic going around, so please feel free to ask anything you want. This is my favorite part about festivals, that we get to talk to people behind the films and ask anything that we are interested in. So don't be shy, feel free to raise your hand if you have a question. But maybe first start with the ending of the film and then go to the beginning, kind of where Binyam said that he wants to go to Rwanda, and that, as you said before, you will also go with him and film him there. Where did you first meet Binyam, and how did you decide to actually make a film about cycling?
So we met for the first time in Rwanda, actually, for the African Championship. He was a junior, and I was living in Kigali at the time, and I was walking to a coffee bar, like every morning, and behind me I hear Tigrinya. They were looking for a coffee. So I told them, I speak a bit of Tigrinya, so I told them, come with me and I will show you a coffee bar. So we drank coffee together. Binyam was there, he was a junior, was 16, 17, he didn't talk a lot. More the older cyclists talked, like Mahavi Kudus. And after they invited, I was planning to go to the race anyway, but after they invited me to go to see the race, and Binyam won all his races, I think, all his races. And the most important thing for me was he was in a breakaway, he was winning, and then he heard that one of his teammates from Eritrea was also behind him, so he stopped, waited for him, and then they went together. Then I thought, okay, maybe there's a movie. And then I met them again in Europe, but not Bini, but I met the team for the World Championship. And after a while, I got a visa to go to Asmara. I talked to the parents with Binyam, the Cycling Federation, and they all agreed to make a movie.
Were you aware before you made this movie and before you got in contact with Binyam how big cycling as a sport was for Eritrean people? And
yeah, I knew, because I lived 10 years in Ethiopia and part of it in Tigray. So I knew it was huge, but not that big. I knew it was their number one sport, but every Sunday there is a race. Only not in the rainy season, but they have to change it otherwise. But every Sunday there is a race, and there's like thousands of people every Sunday watching the race. Last time I filmed was the national championship. Bini won in the Giro, and I think there were 300,000, 400,000 people at the race. It's huge, yeah.
With a population of 5 million.
Yes,
so
yes.
Pretty big part. The film, you said in the beginning, you followed him around for 6-7 years. Yep. And he was 16 when you first met him.
16, 17.
17. Yeah. So it's actually not just about a movie about his sports career, it's also about him growing up and how he kind of develops between being a person in public and in the spotlight, and how comfortable he is around it or not.
Yeah. It's I didn't realize, but I only realized after that it's more of a coming of age. Mm-hmm. And if I film him, it's fine. He's fine with it, but he's much better now with cameras. But like every race he goes, he has to do interviews, because he's a star in cycling, and he's the only black. So every time he goes somewhere, he has to do the interviews, and what do you think today, and blah, blah, blah. Are the legs good? Yes, the legs are good. But he get used to it, yeah.
Are there already some first questions from our audience? Anyone wants to ask something here in the front?
Thank you for the movie. With how many cyclists did you start, or was it really clear from the beginning that you will go with this guy, or did you have like a filter, some 5, and then it closed with no? Okay.
I had 2 ideas: Binyam or a family. The family of cyclists called Debesai. There's a girl and 3 brothers. The parents cycled, the grandparents. But when I talked to Binyam, like really talk for the first time in Asmara, it was clear for me, it's him, yeah. Only because, also with the parents, somehow I had a connection with that family. Yeah, so I knew he was good. That's maybe the answer to your question, but I didn't knew that he was that good. I knew he was good, that you see immediately. And I knew we would make it to find a professional team, but this, no. If I knew this, then,
There another question?
Yeah, so at some point in the movie, Binyam says, I think it's in France, he says, I'm starting to change how I think about cycling. Maybe it was a translation, I don't know, but and that it was different between how they view cycling in Europe and in Eritrea. Do you get what he means? And
Yeah.
if you do, how exactly is it different?
No, it was during COVID. Yeah, it was one of the most difficult thing to film is loneliness. Like he's there every day or with me, but I'm 20 years older. So we are very good in PlayStation now. But and the problem was that he couldn't cycle anymore. Like he could train sometimes, like after a while he could start training, there were no races anymore. And his dream was, I go to Europe and maybe I will do the Tour de France. But in his head, everything stopped at that time. So I think that's why he started to talk like that, yeah. He almost stopped at that time. It was, yeah.
Yes. I do not have a question. I just want to congratulate you. I think at some point it was more suspense than a crime story. And I really loved the dynamics of the film. Sometimes I couldn't look, at some scenes because it was all so fast. And I think Biram I love the spirit of him as a person. He has such charisma, and I don't know how people can have so much suffering and ambition to get to the target. So just congratulations for your film.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's a document also for Biram.
Yeah.
Thank you. Basically, I want to say the same. I think it's a great human story. And I was, as you, really watching, enjoying every second. But I have a different question. What's the history of the funding of the project?
So we started 7 years ago when I met him. I don't know exactly the date, but when I met him, the problem, it's a documentary, yeah? It's not much funding in documentary. And if I go to my producer for the first time, look, I want to make a movie about cycling. It's not very popular in the documentary world. But because we worked together, so she agreed. She didn't know anything about cycling, about sport, but she agreed to make a movie. And then if you start looking for funding, you go to pitch, like we've pitched at the ITFA Forum. They all ask, is he good? Like, I said, yeah, he's good, but he's 17. Yeah, but, of course he's good, but maybe... So they all want to know how good he was. It's very, very weird for a fund or broadcaster to ask, I found. And we got Flemish Fund, the Flemish Film Fund gave... you want to know the numbers? I can give you... around 80,000 but it took 2 years, like script fund, development fund, production fund. And then we got Al Jazeera. Binyam wanted Al Jazeera. Yeah, he wanted Al Jazeera. The rest, he doesn't care. He also doesn't know. So, yeah. But he wanted Al Jazeera because it's screened in Eritrea, it's screened in Ethiopia, in Kenya, in the cycling countries in Africa. So he said, if we want to make a movie that will inspire other cyclists, we need Al Jazeera. So we pushed hard for Al Jazeera. But they didn't give that much money. And then Arte came in, that was a bit bigger, and then the Dutch Film Fund. But I'm alone. I film, I do the sound, I do the... So you save a lot of money if you do it alone. Yeah. And in Eritrea, I lived with him most of the time. And when he came to Europe, he lived with me. So there were no hotel costs. Yeah.
Is there another question? Oh, yeah.
Hi. Little story. I was a television journalist in Switzerland, and I was trying to film cycling, and it was just impossible because the race there have rights from television. So my question, I had a double question. First, how difficult was it to get footage and sounds and brands and all this like things that we don't think about before you have to actually air and get rights? And second is how you manage like this one very cool footage when you see running with a camera because he won the race, but like how much preparation did you need, accreditation, organization, be actually at the race? Like it must have been pretty tricky, no?
Yeah, it's like I also didn't know before. I thought we make a movie about cycling, and then they start. Yeah, you need an accreditation, and you will not get the accreditation because it's limited to 8 journalists from Belgium. I said, okay. In the beginning, it was easier because the races are small, but the bigger the race, the more difficult it got. Like the Tour de France is almost impossible. But for example, he wins the race in Belgium, and I was running to him with the camera, and all the others said, no, you cannot film. He said, if he can't film, I will not talk to you. So they had to let me film it. Yeah. It was like he won the race, and like normally 5 minutes after, you have an interview with him for the international media. Like this interview will go live to all the broadcasters who bought the rights. He said, if he cannot film it, I will not talk. So they had to... and we paid a bit of the rights, but not a lot, not everything. Yeah, we didn't have the budget to pay. They ask a lot of money, yeah? It's like 12,500 euro for each minute or something. It's a lot of money, yeah. So we didn't. Yeah. I don't think they will say anything. We discussed, and some rights we bought, but not all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's between us. Like
sometimes I need a producer with me because.
Maybe before we get to the next questions, also very interesting in the film, you see how Binyam kind of, the more he races, the more international races he does, he also figures out his relationship with the media and how he presents himself, how much he says. And there's always this question also of like, why are you always going back so fast afterwards?
No, it's true. It's another thing about the races, the audio we record afterwards. But yeah, like I took his bike to record the audio. Then we put everything after. Like he wins a race in Belgium, and 3 days after, it's the biggest race, like the Tour of Flanders. It's like a holiday in Belgium. It's really, really important in Belgium. Life stops. He wins the race 3 days before. The day after, he left to Eritrea. So all the journalists, but why? But he just wanted to go back. The plan was, I will go back after that race, and he stick to the plan. A funny story. He wins the big race in Belgium, and the idea before, well, he would never race that race. He was planned to do another race because he was so good at that time, they put him in that race. But he didn't know the race, actually. Yeah.
Is there other more questions? There in the back. Back.
I've noticed that you never see him complaining apart from his loneliness. Is that also from his family, that he's just used to racing, that he was brought up with it? Or is it also him as a person that he just thinks that this discipline?
No, he's lonely. He's lonely. No, he complains about it. But one thing that helped a lot, he knows he's good in cycling. So, but no, he's still lonely sometimes, yeah. Like, if he is not in the race, immediately go back to Eritrea. Like, he stays a month in Europe for racing. Like, now he's in the Giro. He finishes the Giro in 2 weeks. He has 2 days test on his bike. The day after, he will go back, I'm sure, yeah.
Maybe it's also a cultural thing a little bit. Like, he complains softly because it's he's also very aware of his privilege in a sense inside the country. So there and then in the back.
I wonder how the story in France continued. And do you see him always?
So he was in the Tour. He didn't win a stage, but we knew a bit in advance because it's the first time, and he was not good. He crashed before. He will go back. He's now in the Giro. Maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow he will win. I'm not. It's possible. No, we made a plan. It's possible. It's not a. And he will go back to the Tour de France. But the main objective of this year is the Olympics. He will go to the Olympics in Paris. That's the main target now, yeah.
There was a very beautiful way he had to complain in the movie, but only to his wife. And this was a nice touch. Okay, my daughter, yes, she is as lonely as I am.
Yes.
This was beautiful. Yeah, you have to get to your main character to put something like that into a film, to find it for him. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Yeah, you want to say something?
How long do cyclists normally do this type of job? How long will his career be?
It changed the last years. Normally 38, 39. I think now 35. It's much more. It's what I think. Yeah. It's much more intense than before. It's much more planning, much more science also around it. Much more training camps alone. 35. Yeah.
Also, possibly depends on what position you cycle. Because if you're the head, if you're the winning one, your career is shorter most of the time than if you're part of the.
Yeah, like he's the leader of the team now, so it's a bit more stress. No, much more stress now. So 35.
So he still has a couple good years in.
Yes.
Okay. If there are no more questions, maybe we can talk a bit more about your relation, like after the film finished. You already told me before you had a team screening with the team and you already showed him the film. What was his feedback so far? I mean, he's not a person who's really like that. One likes to see himself or talk that much about himself. So how comfortable was he with like seeing a whole film about him?
Yeah, we were. I always say we, but we were on a training camp in Spain. Because he doesn't like the weather in Belgium, so we go to Spain. And it's the first time we saw the movie in this year. Yeah, this was not almost finished, but 90% was finished. So he knew the process, like the editing. Sometimes he comes to the editing room, and then I asked him, we were two in a room on a laptop, write down what you want to change, or maybe you change, maybe not, but write down what you want to change. And then when the movie was finished, we saw it with his teammates. We rented the cinema, and then we screened the movie with his European teammates. These teammates are also 22, 23, 24, so they were all a bit, not in shock, but impressed, because for them it's much more, it's not easier, but much more easy to become professional. But it helped a lot for his position in the team. Yeah. They look a bit different to him now. Yeah. Yeah. Also for his team manager and the sport director and everything around the team, it was good that we showed the film because they always think, he's from Africa. But yeah, they're also sport people. They're not really busy with politics, and they just think, we have a rider from Africa, yeah, and he's good. Yeah. But now they know the background. And
but you're also going to screen it in Eritrea, you said this year?
In June, we have they have the national championships, and I go. And Binyam said, okay, we will screen it in all the cinemas. So yeah.
You probably also need to.
Yes, yeah. It's like we said in the beginning, it's huge. Yeah. So it will run in the cinema in Eritrea. Yeah.
You're still in contact with Binyam a lot, and you still work together. Are you going to follow him around for his next races? Is there maybe a second part of this movie planned, or are you just going to be friends from now on, kind of?
Yeah, we are friends. Yeah, we are good friends actually now. But he asked maybe continue, but I'm not sure actually. Yeah. It's interesting that next year is the World Championship for first time in Africa. It's cool, but now it's become a bit technical. He's 73 kilo, and Kigali is very hilly. So it's for riders around 62, 65 kilo, I think. So it's no chance he will perform well. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. We are talking about it, yeah. I also want to make another movie, actually, so we have to figure it out. Yeah.
So, last chance is for one more question, if anyone wants to also just say something.
Good music.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you can also say something because you told me before that Binyam and you were together when you decided about
the
music.
The composer is a good friend of me, and I always wanted to work with him, but it depends on the movie if it will fit because he's a jazz drummer. So for this movie it fit. So we had a meeting. We went to eat injera together with the composer Binyam and me, and the composer Lander asked, "So Binyam, which music do you want?" And he said, "Yeah, Kendrick Lamar." So, whoa. But so we came out with one song is based on a rhythm they listen to in Eritrea, like the tudum tudum. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming today
it's
and
a pleasure.
coming to the festival and presenting your film. If you didn't want to say something in public, you can also come up afterwards and talk to Levin. A big round of applause again for presenting the film and showing us this small moment. The film screens also, I think, 2 more times here in cinemas, and then you can watch it online. So if you liked it, you recommend it to someone. And don't forget to vote for the film for the Kino Audience Awards. There will be a box outside. If you liked it, you can put your ticket in. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you around. Bye.